You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and joining me this episode is...
That's right, it is I, the great Canadian geek, Mike the Birdman Dodd. What's up, folks?
Yeah, what's up, man?
What can I say, folks? Yes, that's right, we're here on Altered Geek. I am joined with Steve Megatron Phillips. And in this episode, we're going to try and take a focus on less of pop culture, though ultimately you'll get a dose of that, as you often do here on this show. We're trying to take a dive into our creative projects, sort of give you a behind-the-scenes look of what we're currently working on, be it something for our website, something personal, or just something in general that kind of get in a great going. Because, you know what, it's one thing to consume pop culture media all the time. Is that enough to see you? No. Sometimes you got to flash your creative muscle and do something interesting outside the norm. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Sort of what's keeping the creative fires lit, so to speak.
Yeah, so part of what I've been doing, anyways, lately, aside from playing games and kind of conversing with people, I've been kind of going through old drives. And I say that in the sense of I'm going through old flash drives, old backups of things. One, because I've been organizing family photos amongst multitude of devices, but also because I'm trying to dig up old Geekcast Radio images that I made. Some of them are prototype ideas that never came to fruition. Mm-hmm. Some of them are ideas that I purposely built an image for to redesign and tear apart later, and then just never went back to it because it's like a dog and shiny things. Like, you know, the dog's on one subject, and then all of a sudden there's
squirrel, basically.
Yep, basically. And so I go off in this other direction, and then it's totally forgotten. Which is why, like, every several months I'll change like the podcast art for Altered Geek and the way that the featured banner is designed and things of that nature. And it allows for nice evolutions, but at the same time it can get exhausting because I'm never happy with my work, and I am at the moment, and then it gets old and so I have to do it. I have to change it. So it was interesting going back. I found like original images of Altered Geek before it was called Altered Geek. Like the original prototype image was Geekcast Radio Unplugged.
Oh wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, I completely forgot that it was titled that. Funny enough, Mike Booth Ninja Powers helped me to change the name. I came up with the Altered Geek, I believe, and he's like, you should still do the Unplugged kind of thing. It's kind of a, spitballing podcast, and so that's what I went with. And then it later became Unlimited, and then Unleashed, and then Unlimited, and back and forth, and then it eventually just dropped it because it sounded cooler that way. But so I was going through a lot of it, kind of redesigning things, looking at old GCRN designs, looking at what we currently have, move the site from one host to another, except for the first 2 days. It went kind of flawlessly other than those 2 days. I lost about 5 years worth of images from the back end of the site because I thought I had them backed up. And I was looking, I'm missing everything from 2009. I have 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, and then I'm missing everything from 14 to, I think it was part of, or no, maybe it was the other way around. Maybe that's what I had. I had 2013 to March of 2017, and then everything else was gone. So it created a lot of havoc in the back end, memory-wise, for the website. Mm-hmm. So I was gradually going through and doing things to change it, and then I have this like mass image uploader that would kind of blanket image things based on category, which was very helpful when you're out of the files. Like I have them, and TF2 Mike has them backed up on Facebook, but it's still not the original image that I worked from.
Yeah.
And I do have the majority of them. The problem is the earlier stuff, the dimensions of the images for the featured image was totally different. And so if I tried to use them now, they would just look terrible. So I don't use them at all. And that's why recently I opted to redo all of the interview art. All 84 images.
Oh, wow.
It was a monotonous and tedious process, and I had to go find headshots of, like, modern headshots of, like, everybody that were tasteful, and find parts of their franchise stuff, get all their information, and have this, like, uniform look, because they all were somewhat different and kind of designed after the second version of the website. And I just kind of got tired of trying to fit images in that were legacy because they just didn't work. So I, in essence, decided it was time to rebuild GCRN into a totally different, updated design, which I'm still working on. I've been on it for about a month now, maybe less, and it's coming along nicely. A lot of the stuff's been reorganized. The design is something we've never done, and I'm kind of getting opinions, getting things worked out, getting things changed around. Everything's been rebuilt from the ground up. Things have been imported from the old site, including our old archived legacy, like original programs from like year 1 and 2 that I've deleted off the current site because there were memory issues. So it's been a fun process.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I mean, one of the things me and Alex, if you've noticed on Twig, has become more of my right-hand man as time's been going on and moving forward here. We started doing reviving things like the prototype since my original co-host, Jamie Johnson, he just got busy with life. Life just got in the way. So we've been reviving the prototype to once a month. We've been trying to experiment with different ideas. We recently did something really kind of neat. You've probably, by the time this Altered Geek comes out, you've probably heard it. And what it is we're taking out-of-print movies and abandoned movies, movies that never got a DVD release, that have been abandoned by their creators, so there may not be a VHS release even. And they're on YouTube. And we do commentaries with them. For example, the movie we just did was Hulk Hogan's, what was it called? Secret Agent Club. And they described it as True Lies meets Home Alone.
That
is a complete lie. It is so mind-numbingly bad, but it's hilarious at the same time. It stars Richard Mall, who plays Bull in Night Court, Terry Hulk Hogan, a woman from, I think it's Days of Our Lives, and a bunch of nobodies you've never heard of. Oh, no, sorry, James Hong's in it. It's also vaguely racist at times, because of course the Asian kid knows karate. And it's ridiculous, it's stupid, but it's amazing. Like, these kids rack up a body count. It's amazing.
So it's like Surf Ninjas.
Yeah, it's weird. At one point, they get a laser gun. They kill Barry Boswick from like Spin City. He was the mayor on Spin City, so they kill him with a laser gun. They shoot it at a mirror, so it bounces around a bunch of times. It pokes a bunch of holes through him, and you can see light passing through his body. He's like, "Huh, I've been shot," and then he passes over and dies. And then they blow up Richard Mall because he has like a robot right leg. So kind of like me, and they shoot him with a rocket launcher, and randomly his body part falls out of the sky.
So that's almost like Spy Hard.
Yeah, it's so strange, but it's amazingly funny. I honestly really enjoyed this movie because you can't get away with doing movies like this anymore. So me and Alex started brainstorming ideas, and we found more Hulk Hogan movies. We're going to do these as time moves on. We're going to do... It's a series called Shadow Warriors, and there were 2 or 3 of them. There was one called Assault on Devil's Island, where this terrorist, who's like the bad guy from, what was it? Some movie. He kidnaps like the U.S. or Korean gymnastics team, and he holds them literally prisoner on this island fortress. So it's Hulk Hogan, Shannon Tweed, and Carl Weathers. So the guy from Predator all have to get together and pick and save the day. And then there's also one called Assault on Death Mountain, which is just as dumb as it sounds. Hulk Hogan and the Shadow Warriors have to team up again and fight somebody who has like the T-virus, Resident Evil. And it's at like a ski resort. And it looks so dumb. Once again, Carl Weathers is back, so I'm excited. We've also been looking at older horror movies. Me and Pierce, that's a name you probably haven't heard on Twig in probably about 4 to 5 years.
If not more.
If not more. Pierce was a guy I worked with back in college for Twig and a couple years afterwards. He created a show called Geek Gore.
I remember that.
And it was we had one podcast for it, and it just never went anywhere. So what we're going to do, maybe me and Alex, is maybe look at old 80s horror movies that, once again, don't have a release. Maybe talk about them, maybe more of a educational sense, kind of like the old Twig topic shows, and maybe just pick one movie, research the hell out of it, and just talk about it for 15, 20 minutes. Like one movie, you should look this movie up on YouTube. You really should. It's called Spookies. It came out in like 1986, and it's 2 horror movies spliced together into one. And it was an Italian movie, I think, and it has 2 separate plots going on. The first one is almost resolved almost immediately. There's this wizard trying to resurrect his dead wife, but he needs souls to do it. So he has this haunted mansion, and these kids stop by his mansion because it's a dark and stormy night, and of course, we can't go out in the rain.
Scooby-Doo, we'll get wet.
Yeah, it's Scooby-Doo, but with blood. And it gets nuts. There's like a werewolf cat person that kills a kid, and that's there are 3 times in the 80s I can think specifically where kids die in a movie. This werecat cuts them up like bacon. And Friday the 13th, no, not Friday the 13th. The Blob remake from 1988 did it. They kill a kid in the sewer, like he melts, and it's disgusting, but it looks awesome. And there's one more that I can't remember the name of. I want to say Critters killed the kid, but I'm not sure. But still, so yeah, we're thinking about maybe doing that or something else. The Twig topic shows have always been one of our big things, and I know we did the ones with the angry video game nerd, James Rolfe. Now that I'm not in the hospital dying, maybe we'll do that again this year. I know me and James had planned to do the Chucky movies, so maybe I'll contact him this summer and say, hey man, we did all the Saw movies, now it's time to do all the Chuckies, because those are always a big download for us, and they're always so much fun. I don't get a chance to work with James nearly as much as I want, just because he's a busy guy with his 2 kids now. He's got 2 or 3, I think. Another cool thing on the back burner is we've been talking with Handsome Tom from the game Heroes and
Prototype.
Yeah, Prototype, Handsome Tom. And I pitched the idea to him a couple weeks ago. Would you come back and do Handsome Tom's Useless Knowledge that I can just randomly throw in the shows? And he's like, what do you mean? Well, all I want is Handsome Tom's Useless Knowledge. Did you know hot dogs are not made from the anuses and butts of pigs? Or stuff like that, just randomly useless knowledge. And just drop those in the Twig shows wherever I get the chance.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought that was kind of fun. Obviously, Terrible Warriors is a big focus for us right now. I've been working on the side show, which is the Dice Chronicles, which is our actual play D&D podcast. We're working on expanding that. We've done, as of this recording, 35 episodes, I think, of actual play for D&D, and that's 4-hour sessions. So we're thinking about maybe in the second season, we're going to take a break, do a couple of one-shots. One of them we're planning right now is Marvel Superheroes set in the MCU. Literally a second or 2 after Thanos snaps his fingers, the Netflix heroes and our new guys have to step up and save New York from Kingpin. Because I think that'd be awesome. And then we might do a couple other games. Like we're looking at maybe doing BattleTech, maybe Shadowrun. But before we get into the second season of Cambridge, which will be a longer form game. But if you want more details about that, we have a roadmap on the Dice Chronicles, which you can go pick up at terriblewarriors.com. We have our own RSS feed. You can check that out. But we're going to be doing more one-shot games, more stuff like we might do Cambridge Chronicles Fallout, Cambridge Chronicles Mass Effect, stuff like that. So lots of neat stuff to look forward to there. And that's been keeping me going creatively is kind of, I decided I don't like to create my own worlds. And what I mean by that is the lore, I like to play with, if you hand me a Lego set, Steve, for example, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with it. If you hand me a Star Wars Lego set and say, Mike, build that, I can do that. I get that.
See, I could do both.
Oh, I'm only creative so far to a point.
When it comes to graphics, I have to see an example of something, and then I can replicate it in any fashion, or even pieces of it, and create my own thing from it. So it's completely transformative. But when it comes to world building or building out of Legos or because Legos, I sit there and I look at the parts that my kids have, and I can build just about anything out of them because they all used to be kits or used to be just buckets of Legos, and then they just got tore apart, and because we bought them at yard sales type stuff, and some of them were my old bricks, and they're in this giant collection of bricks, and so I'll just go through and just build cars, spaceships, boats, submarines, buildings, whatever. And it's just this weird amalgamation that I'll put together. It may not be uniform in color, but it's still this insane contraption. My kids love it. My wife not so much, because I'm kind of handicapping my kids at Legos because I sit there and play with them more than they do. And they're like, "Daddy, build this." And she's like, "You're not supposed to play with the Legos. You're supposed to help them, teach them, and then leave them alone." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." So I do that. And then I've always been good at world building, and I kind of got that, from when I used to play with action figures as a kid. And then when I got into the 7th grade, my friend and I that I met in that class, he used to draw, and I used to come up with storylines, and between the two of us we would kind of it was kind of an idea to create our own comic books, and then we started writing fanfic novels, and then more or less he wrote them, and then I would give ideas, and then he would put them together, and then when he dropped it, I continued it for a little bit. I get burnout really easy on ideas, so I may come up with something, and then I may complete it, and then I may never revisit it again, which was the case with that. But I did have future storylines planned for that, and I just never wrote them. And then in college, when we had screenwriting class, and actually even before, and some people have heard this story on this podcast before, but I took the superhero class on the EDX Smithsonian thing, and you had to world build. You had to create your own superhero. And so I created one that was in the future by I don't know, 65 years, 75 years. And then the second class, you had to create a character again. It was essentially the same class. I just took it again. And I created characters that took place 75 years before the one that I created in the previous class. And then because I did that, I world builded this whole scenario and what these characters are, how they're connected. And then as I started taking more of those EDX classes, I kind of come up with a more in-depth universe. And then when I took my screenwriting class in college, I actually physically wrote the pilot episode to if I were to have my own series. And I created all the characters. I created all the costume designs for the characters, because it's kind of my own comic universe, superhero type stuff. And then my own names for all the little factions and all the stuff that they came up with. And so, it was all my own universe to play in, and it was kind of nice. And then I plotted out ideas for, future episodes and kind of wrote, descriptions of each episode for a 13 episode season, and then just kind of it fizzled out after that because I had a million other projects going on.
I don't know. With me, I think you said a word there that definitely sums up me. I'm fanfic the game. You give me a tool set like, hey, Mike, here's the Harry Potter universe. Create something cool. Okay. I have this idea for this magical FBI. In fact, a little bit behind the scenes. If you want to go listen to the full episode, go check us over at Terrible Warriors. But I had a neat idea for, like, you know how in Harry Potter there's Hogwarts and that's over in England, right?
Mm-hmm.
So supposedly there's one or two magical schools over here in North America. I theorize there's a magical division in the FBI and there's a magical division in the RCMP, so the Royal Canadian Magical Police.
So the Adjustment Bureau.
Yeah, so something like that where these guys have to go around and stop magical crimes or something like that, or there's different divisions. Like there was a great Key and Peele sketch where they showed a wizard school in Los Angeles, and it was ridiculous. Go look up Key and Peele wizards, and it's hilarious. But stuff like that, like I love fanfic stuff. Though I'd never write it. I've written a fanfic. The last time I did a fanfic is I wrote a Mega Man X one back when I was in grade 7 or 8.
That's what we did. We wrote a Mega Man X mixed with Dragon Ball Z.
Oh my god, mine was.
It was epic.
I created an original character named Quantum, who had time control powers, and a hunter named Crystal, who was a girl. You can guess what color her armor was because I was like 14.
Clear?
It was pink metallic, but it looked sweet in my head. And she fought Armored Armadillo. But yeah, I had ridiculous ideas. I did a Mortal Kombat fan fiction, which ended up being 144 pages. Stuff like that. I mean, one thing I've always wanted to do is I like a lot of TV properties. And one thing I'd love to do for Terrible Warriors is find the right system, be it a D20 system or maybe Fate Core or something else. Maybe Phase Rip. And create our characters in The Walking Dead. Like, okay, guys, you're in Fear the Walking Dead. The plague has hit Toronto. What do you do? And doing something like that, maybe for like Halloween or something, and have the characters accurately have each other. Actually, I think there's a role-playing game like this where you literally, I decide your stats and you decide my stats. And my stats are different now than they were 6 months ago. Before Mike could walk. Now Mike has to roll around inside of a wheelchair. So I'm at a disadvantage, and I'm probably the best shot out of our group. Because I'm probably one of the only people that's ever fired a gun before, and I used to play with a lot of air guns and BB guns and rifles in my dad's backyard. So what do you do? Do you leave me behind because I'm going to be trouble for the group, or do you bring me ahead because you don't know what you're doing? So stuff like that I've always wanted to kind of do for our Terrible Warriors group. Plus, I've always had a thing. This is a creative project I'd love to get off the ground. I do not have the time. I do not have the manpower. I have the idea. I would love to take old H.P. Lovecraft stories and novels and adapt them into radio plays. If I could create a spooky audio drama, like 15, 20 minutes in length, and tell a really spooky and epic story that gets under your skin, God, I would love that. But I do not have the time nor the manpower to pull this off.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do, honestly, some kind of an audio play thing. I've done them. I've not produced them. I've been in them on a variety of levels, whether it's audio play or fan dubs or things of that nature. But it's always been something I've enjoyed is acting or voice acting, and it's honestly a lot of fun to listen to it.
I'd like to try voice acting, but I'm not sure whether I could pull it. It would have to be the right role for me to get into it. I think I sound a little too much like a good guy, but I'd love to play a bad guy.
Yes.
Like when I was watching Marvel's Infinity War, the lines that Thanos was delivering, like the one line, it's from the trailer, but I love it, where he's like, "Run from it, dread it, destiny still arrives." My God, does that invoke dread, and I love that. I would love to deliver like Sephiroth epic levels of spooky speeches where your world is about to end and I'm the one who holds the trigger to it. That's awesome to me. Like, that's creative boner right there. But once again, just don't have the time. I've got the resources because I have my own microphones, my own recording equipment. I'm pretty sure Blair would look at me sideways if I'm delivering these world epic speeches while looking my cat dead in the eyes.
But honestly, that would be hilarious.
He's looking at me right now, looking at me like, "Daddy, why are you talking crazy?
Why you do these things?
You're supposed to love me." But yeah, it's stuff like that. I mean, I that's the kind of creativity I want to get into. And who knows, maybe there's somebody out there, because I've done audio plays before. I got a chance to play an assassin master for a kid's fan. He did a movie for his college thesis. This would be about 10 years ago. One of the guys from Screw Attack did it. And I've done stuff for a Metal Gear Solid play. I think I did something for a couple of years ago. And I did a voice for something else. But I can't remember what it was. So, but anyway, yeah, those are some of the creative things that I'm looking forward to getting my mitts into over the next couple of months or the next year or so. So I'm really hoping the Twig DVD commentaries will take off again. Like I said, doing the movies on YouTube, but also finding movies that we love. Like, I don't know, we did Jurassic Park so many years ago. Maybe doing the sequels might be kind of fun, considering Lost or Fallen Kingdom comes out soon. Mm-hmm. But pronouncing half those dinosaur names, good luck. Yeah. But I'd love to get maybe Mr. Christopher in on it, maybe Lee. So it's not just the me and Alex show. That kid goes off on tangents like you wouldn't believe. But they're always entertaining and strangely weird. But anyway, yeah, that's what I've got creatively.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to come up with ways of flexing creative muscle, and it's not gonna lie, it's annoying sometimes because I'm always moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, for me, I'm always flexing my creative muscles with the Terrible Warriors projects and Dice Chronicles. Sometimes I get close to burning out, but then I take a day, I watch some cartoons, and I'm like, okay, put me back in the game, coach. I'm good to go another 10 rounds, and I'm ready to rock. So I think we've taken this about as far as we possibly can. Obviously, we want to hear from you guys. If you have your own creative projects, let us know. Maybe we will promote them.
Yeah, I mean that. And what are some things that you'd like to see us do? What are some things that you enjoy about specific, whether it's radio plays or just things in general? It would just be interesting to hear what everyone has to say on these things. So you can reach out on the social medias at Altered Geek, wherever you may choose, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. You can also get a hold of me on the Twitters at SCP21.
And for myself, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BirdmanDodd. I'm always around in some form of social media. If you want to follow Terrible Warriors, that's Dice Warriors and Dice Chronicles. Dice Chronicles is the Cambridge Chronicles specific one. Dice Warriors is the Terrible Warriors main account. So give our show a listen. If you're into role-playing games and that sort of thing, like D&D, hopefully you'll find something there you like.
Yeah, so until next time, get altered. Get geeky with the Altered Geeks.
Woo!